Everyone, the numbers are in for Grand Panama in Panama City Beach, Florida. There's a lot that's changed in the condo market in the last 30 or 45 days, so I wanted to do a real deep dive into the market and pricing for Grand Panama since I haven't done that for you in a couple of months. I'm Craig Duran with the Duran Group over at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Let's get right to some of these numbers. First of all, before we do pricing, specific pricing in Grand Panama, let's take a look at what's happening in the overall market, especially recently. We've been tracking a few different important metrics so we can see what's happening with the market. So we're starting with how many units are for sale at any given time. That helps us understand the supply of what's going on in the market. If we're looking at supply and demand, tracking how many units are for sale, how many choices buyers have can help us understand what's happening. We're also looking at the number of new listings that come to the market every week. This also helps us see what's going on with the supply. Is it rapidly increasing? Is it rapidly decreasing? This will tell us some things. Two more important metrics: how many new contracts are being written every week? Obviously, if we're having fewer and fewer contracts written, we'll have fewer and fewer closings in a month or two, and that's going to affect the market. And of course, we're also tracking closings. So right now I've got a tab open on this spreadsheet from May. Let's take a look at a couple of these columns and compare them to September. In May, look at this first column of active, which means condos for sale in the market, not just Grand Panama, but across all of Panama City Beach. We had over 70% less, 70% fewer condos for sale when compared with the same weeks in the year before. So imagine if we have a big condo superstore and you walked in and you wanted to buy something, you had 70% fewer choices in the store. So obviously as a buyer, you feel some pressure because there's just not that much for sale. But look what's happened now as we get into September. September, we're more like in the 30%, even as low as 25%. Still less compared to those weeks in September. So we still have a little less inventory than we did last year. But you can see going from being down 70 to down 30, obviously we're adding some units to the market. So inventory levels are coming up some. There's a little more supply. Buyers have a few more choices. Still a little bit of a tight inventory situation though. We haven't added so many condos that the market's just flooded. The number of new listings, this is a little bit interesting. Early in the year, we were adding a ton of new condos to the market week over week over week. 68% more, 65% more, 27% more. In September, we didn't add as many. September, we were flat one week. We were off 41%. We did add 75% more this week, but then we were down 19%, 8%. And remember, all these numbers were comparing it to the same week in the year before. So we're not adding a ton of inventory in September, which is a good sign, meaning that we didn't add so many condos that people aren't buying them. It's a little more sporadic than that. Now, these are the two columns that I think are going to be interesting to compare and will tell us a little bit about what's happening with a potential shift in the market. Look at the number of new contracts written in May. 95% more new contracts, 51% more new contracts, 62% more new contracts, 28% more, all through the month of May. And look at September. And again, we're not comparing September to May. We're comparing September to September of last year. 31% fewer contracts were written in week 1, 33% fewer in week 2, 41% more in 3, 2% more in 4, but 28% down in 5. So for the month, we were off writing contracts about 4%. So think about what that means. Obviously, we would expect to see in 30 to 45 days when these contracts are closing, we're gonna have a few less closings, or a few fewer closings than we did this time last year. And look at the numbers sold, and this really is telling. In May, we had 588% more closings on condos in the first week of May than we did the previous May. 185%, 142% more, 63% more. Huge numbers of just more closings, more closings, more closings, more condo sales. In September, still solid, 17% more, 19% more, 7% more. And then the last 2 weeks, 26% less, fewer, 45% fewer closings. So off, for the month, we were off about 11%. So think about what's happening here in the last couple on those last couple of columns. We're writing a few less contracts. We're having a few. It's early, so I'm struggling with my grammar. We're having fewer closings, not by a ton, but a little bit. And so, if a market is going to slow down some, these are some signs that maybe we're softening just a little bit. Now, it could be something that's seasonal, or it could be something that's a trend. And so we look at some other charts to try to pick this up. You guys know I'm a big fan of this one. If you've seen any of these videos before, you know this is a really go-to for me. The red line here represents the number of available condos for sale in the entire Gulffront market. The black line represents the number of closings, and then we're really going to dig into this months of inventory number down here. So take a look at, first of all, what's happened with supply. As of March or April of this year, we had the least amount of condos by far that we've had in the last couple of years. And look how dramatic it's been, because if this is about our average level, 120 units for sale, 6 months of sales, something like that. We got down to below 40 units for sale at any given time in the market. Really, really low for inventory. But look at what's happened in the last few months. We've added some units to the market pretty dramatically, and this is a combination of units coming up for sale and then sales slowing down a little bit, which is this black line here. And we're already back to inventory levels of just before the pandemic. In fact, we were above where we were at the end of 2019, which we were having good condo sales those years. Most important, look at this months of inventory number. And for those of you who haven't seen one of these videos, I know a lot of you have, months of inventory is a great barometer to see what's happening in the market. Normally, months of inventory comes about from, it's a number that tells us about how long the process would last. Traditionally, calling the real estate agent, getting marketing going, doing showings, negotiating contracts and closing contracts, that whole process would take about 4 or 5 months in a normal market. So if we have 4 or 5 months of inventory, that shows us that we're in a pretty neutral area. If we have less than that, if we have 2 or 3 months, 1 month, then things are happening faster. There's more demand, and it's a hotter market. It's very much a seller's market. And so take a look at where we were really March, April, May. We were less than 1 month of inventory. At one point, we were at 0.42, less than half of 1 month of inventory, meaning that theoretically the entire Gulffront market would sell out in less than a month. That's how hot the condo market has been. June, we slowed down to 1.06 months, still very, very hot. We're down. July, we slowed down to 1.91, August, 2.47, and September, 3.85. We've come pretty quickly, and this is exactly mirroring that red line in this chart just above. We've come from 0.42 to 3.85 in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just about 6 months. And think about that in terms of percentages. That's for, that's about 9 times slower than we were in March. And to think about it, that's just how hot we were. I don't think people have truly understood, if you're not doing this every day, just how extreme the market was earlier this year. 3.85 is still a little bit of a seller's market, a very strong market still, but we've cooled down substantially. So that's worth noting. And again, is this going to be a trend that continues for the next few months? Or is this something that's just a seasonal thing that we have a month or two that's a little bit slower when we pick back up again? This is one I haven't been doing monthly deep dives into pricing, but I'm going to start to do that for the next 4 or 5 months or so, just to make sure we can see, is this a trend and is the condo market really softening, or is this just a slight pause? It's hard to pick up. This is the same chart for Grand Panama itself. It's hard to pick up specifics when you're comparing so few units, but you can generally see that this has mirrored what's happening in the market. Really, really, really hot numbers here, below 1 month of inventory, just over 1. But we've slowed in September to 9 months, so similar to what's happening in the overall market. When we look at pricing of what's sold, I wanted to go back 2 months since I haven't done one of these for you in a couple of months. So here's some sales from August 1st through September 30th. We had a 1-bedroom close in Tower 2, we had another 3-bedroom close in Tower 2. The 1-bedroom closed for $339,000. The 3-bedroom closed for $430,000. 2-bedroom on the Gulf side closed at $465,000. 3-bedroom on the Gulf side closed at 3-bedroom on Tower 2 closed for $479,000. Getting back to the Gulf front, some 2-bedroom sales at $505,000 and $510,000. 3-bedroom sale at $699,000 and one of the penthouses at $860,000. And it's interesting to see. We can dig into those charts all day, but this is going to really tell us also what we can sort of expect for the next few months, maybe through the end of the year in Grand Panama. Here's everything that's currently for sale or under contract. Right now, it's a Tower 2 unit, 1-bedroom at $355,000. These are all asking prices. The 3-bedroom in Tower 2 asking $480,000 is under contract. A 3-bedroom in Tower 2 is asking $499,000 is under contract. A 2-bedroom on the Gulf side is asking $510,000 and is under contract. We have 1, 2, 3 2-bedroom units asking $519,000, $520,000, and $559,000 that are not yet under contract, and 2 of the 3-bedroom units asking $699,000 and $765,000. I think what I take from that, looking at some of the other buildings I've looked at in the last couple of days, there are already some other buildings that have seen sales top out here and are now having some units sit with asking prices less than that. We haven't seen that in Grand Panama yet. Even if things are slowing down, even if we're taking a little bit longer to get some transactions closed or we're having fewer transactions, pricing looks like it's held pretty firm in Grand Panama. So we don't see pricing taking a hit yet. I have seen that. I have seen prices dip down just a touch in a couple of other buildings. So again, I think the couple things we're going to watch going forward is the slowdown of transactions a trend that's starting to happen, or is this just a month or two of some seasonal adjustment? Because that will have everything to do with price. If this is a trend, and it looks like we have a few months of a trend of adding inventory, if that trend continues dramatically for another month or two, we could drift right past neutral market and into buyer market territory, which really puts pressure on pricing, and that's where you could see some prices move down. For those of you who don't, I know most of you are on our e-alert system. If you're watching this, you probably have it. If you're not signed up for that and you're interested, remember our e-alert system will send you an email anytime a unit goes up for sale, changes price, goes under contract, or sells inside of Grand Panama. It's very accurate. It's coming straight from our realtor system. We can set it up. If you want to see something every time it happens, you'll get an email as soon as something happens in the system. If you only want to look at it once a week or once a month, we can set you up that way. So this is the easiest, most accurate way I've seen for people to stay up with the market that aren't real estate agents. Since I've been selling real estate, I started in 2003. This is an excellent tool. You can get the same data, the same information that we have access to sent right to you. It's just a very easy way to keep up with the value of your unit or what's happening in the building. If you want that, just text me. Just text Grand Panama to my cell number. My cell number is 850-527-0221. We'll get you set up. Hope you guys found this helpful. Again, we're going to watch and see, are we trending? We know we're trending softer the last few months. Are we going to continue that trend? If that trend goes much further, we might tip into buyer market territory, which at some point could affect pricing. We're not there yet. Grand Panama is still holding firm. So anyone who's still thinking of selling, even though it's a little bit of the off season, we're still in low inventory. You could see looking at that list that there are not a ton of units for sale. You could probably still put something up at a good solid price if that's what you're thinking about doing. If you have any questions, give me a call. Hope you guys found this helpful, and we'll be back next month with another deep dive so we can see and stay on top of the market for you. Thanks.